for me.
Oh.
No, it's been a while I haven't. So
Okay, we're being live streamed. All right. So I'm not sure if Joe was supposed to come in and introduce the session. So in the meantime, let me start with the introduction. So welcome everybody to this Jury Insights live session for the Gerety Awards 2023. As you may know, the Gerety Awards bring together an all-female jury to select the best in advertising from a powerful perspective, creating a benchmark that is relevant to the market reality, all while redefining the standard to which advertising has traditionally been held. So we are not talking about advertising for women, we are talking about advertising seen from a women perspective, whatever this ad may be. So to discuss this session we have members from the UAE jury here. We have Natasha Romariz Masri. Am I pronouncing this right, Natasha? So she's Executive Creative Director at Leo Burnett Mia. And we have Dida Atassi. Am I pronouncing this right, Dida? All good. She's Managing Director at Accenture Song. So thank you both for being here. It's a pleasure to have you. My first question for you is why becoming a Gerety Award jury member? So Natasha, would you like to start?
sure. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Natalie, and thanks, the Gerety Awards for having me here. It was a really, really nice experience. First of all, to meet these amazing women that, are part of the industry. And honestly, I think leading the industry in the UAE and in the region. So I was approached by Joe kind of around a year ago, and I was, obviously the Gerety Award is an award show that I've heard about for a while. So I thought it was always very interesting. And I guess after my conversation with Joe, what made it even more interesting is that I had a misconception of what the awards were about. The awards and not only for me, but for a lot of people around me, people thought that it's only work that talks about women. So when I had the conversation with Joe and he explained to me that actually, no, this is just women's perspective on work that is out there, I thought it was a great opportunity to kind of join forces with, the other members of the industry who happen to be women as well, and to really select what we believe to be the best workout in the industry. So it was, that was what enticed me the most, to be honest.
Okay, great. Dida, what about you?
I had the same misconception as well. And, once I realized that it was about getting the perspectives of an all-female jury on work that's also been entered in other award shows, regardless of whether the work was intended to be tailored for a female audience or not, I thought that was very interesting and very powerful, specifically in this region as well. So it was nice to do that as well. I started kind of judging awards about 3 years ago, which was right in the middle of COVID. So everything had been done remotely. And this is actually the first award show where we were able to gather in person for a full day of judging, looking at the work together and having live conversations. And I have to say that it's really a game changer to be in person, looking at the work live.
Okay, you mentioned that this is specifically interesting to have this kind of award in the region, in the UAE. Why is that?
I think it's really nice to bring together, women in this field together to talk about some interesting pieces of work from the year that has happened in our industry. You don't always get an opportunity to do that. I think it's really nice to kind of bring women together, especially female leaders. It feels empowering. It feels, it feels like a really nice opportunity to be able to kind of have such a forum to share our point of view.
Of course. And do you think, Natasha, what do you think women brings in terms of perspective to this kind of occasion, like a jury in that case? How is it different from what a man's perspective would be?
I mean, I think we bring perspective on work that is done to us, you know, in the sense that there's a lot of work that we see there. Sorry, I'll explain what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of work that we've seen, and actually some of the work that we debated the most was a piece about, you know, periods and menstruation that we had a very, very strong opinion about. You know, everybody has very strong opinion, and I feel like it could only have come, the truths that came out about that campaign and how that made us feel could only have come from a jury like this. Because it is when I say a campaign happens to us, is like a lot of people tend to think what women would like to hear about a certain subject, not necessarily taking their opinions into consideration. And I feel like it's very interesting to see, you know, women talking about a subject that is supposed to be for them, and giving a very, very honest and open point of view on that. So I think this is a different perspective. You know, it is honesty on subjects that should be talking to us, but sometimes are talking at us. I don't know if it's
no, I see what you mean. It's basically saying that ads that are addressing women, having women react to these concepts that are supposed to talk to us is interesting, because sometimes they really miss the mark and sometimes they don't. But then again, not all the campaigns were specifically targeting women, right? That's the whole point of the Gerety Awards. It's all kinds of products are actually for women. But Dida, in that sense, how do you feel that women can bring a different kind of eye to creative work in advertising?
Well, look, there are all types of women. You know, there was another piece that we discussed in the room, which was dealing with the idea of motherhood. You know, and some of the ladies in the room were like, can the mothers in the room please tell us, do you relate to this? Since I'm not, you know, is there, and we had a conversation about that. We all, you know, okay, we're all females, but we all come from different backgrounds. We have different perspectives, and, you know, we have different roles in our lives. And I think that's also very, very powerful. So doing a kind of double click on being a woman and having all these differences, I think everybody perceives something through their own lens. And when you have, you know, 15 people in a room with one commonality, being female, but yet are so very different from very different backgrounds, I think that's where the interesting conversation happens.
Well, actually, can you walk me through the process of judging, as if you know I was just peeking from outside? What is it like? How does it work?
I mean, for me personally, I can say judging is almost a very kind of, it's a personal thing, right? You do it on your own. So in the Gerety Awards room, we were playing pieces and we had very limited time. There were so many entries to be able to come up with kind of a top of mind score. And I'll tell you, for me, I kind of kept thinking about some of the pieces and would sometimes come back to them after discussions. The discussions were like the cherry on top. It's almost like you can validate what your initial thinking was with your peers. You can take a discussion further, or someone might bring up a point of view that you may not have thought of. But at the end, your ultimate score is very personal, and it's based on your views, your experience, right? And your kind of perspective. So that's my take on it.
Natasha, how would you describe the experience? Is it how Dida described it?
Definitely, I think, and also this was I have had a very similar journey to Dida's on awards, in the sense that I started judging also during COVID. So for me, this was also the first live session, and I think the discussions, the scores were very personal and comes from, you know, like what you believe to be good work or work that has touched you itself. But definitely the discussions gave us a perspective that honestly we didn't have, or validated another perspective, or helped us change our mind, or made us think of something again. So it was really interesting having, you know, and I think it's not as if I was not in another forum where we had discussions, but live discussions are so much, you can read people's faces, you can see their body movement. So it was really, really interesting. And I think everybody was very open and very, and very true as well. You know, I think that if people disagreed, fine, we disagreed. And, you know, that's totally fine, because we have different opinions. And
were there a lot of disagreements?
I think so. There was a healthy amount. I think there was a very healthy amount.
Healthy, okay, good.
Very, very respectful, in the sense that, you know, it was not like, it was not rude, it was not mean, it was not, you know, it's literally different opinions from different from different people that have different points of views and then different backgrounds, but it was very healthy. And honestly, it was very, very enriching conversation and really opened, I think, all of our eyes to a lot of points of views that we didn't think of before.
You probably heard this 1,000 times, just like I did, how women are supposed to be more emotional. How actually did emotions play a role in your judging in that case? You have the technical aspect, a practical professional aspect, but how important were emotions for each of you? Dida, I see you shaking your head.
This question, women or not, we're all humans. We all have emotions. And there are things that might resonate with me more because of my personal context versus Natasha. I mean, it depends, it really depends. There are some topics that were there that you do get emotional about, and there are some that I might not have, but the judge sitting next to me would have. So I think this again is very, very personal, and I it's not just because we're women and we're more emotional. No, we're human. So.
Absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
And,
yes,
and
Natasha.
Just to one point, the campaign, like I usually get goosebumps during, like when I see an idea. The campaign that I got goosebumps about was talking about a country disappearing, had nothing to do with, the
Tuvalu one.
Exactly. It just spoke to me as a human, so I completely agree with Dita on this. It's like it's a human part. Emotions are part of being human.
Of course, yes, yeah. I couldn't agree more. So yes, while preparing this session, we were discussing the campaign, the work that really touched you. So there was the Tuvalu becoming the world's first digital nation in response to rising sea levels. I couldn't encourage people to watch this more. It's, I mean, what did this ignite in you guys? Why was it so intense, your reaction?
First of all, for me it was sorry, this is not why I ignited it, but for me it is the best use of metaverse that I have seen since people started trying doing things on metaverse.
So basically, just to give a little bit of context, yeah. It's I believe a minister from the Tuvalu Islands who is speaking on a desk on a beach, and the camera zooms out and he's explaining that soon the Tuvalu will only be in digital because they will have disappeared. Correct? Is in a nutshell.
Yeah, because it's the rising waters.
Yes.
Yeah. So they created Tuvalu on the metaverse. So everything from documents to memories to anything that is necessary to make a nation, or as a recognized nation, is being uploaded. I still get goosebumps. It's being uploaded into the metaverse because the nation is disappearing. So it is honestly the best use of metaverse that I have honestly seen. And I don't know if it's because I'm far from both of my homes, but the fact of countries is and identity and belonging to somewhere, and that somewhere disappearing, that personally for me it was extremely touching, and it's I think quite a chilling, and it's weird because it's so digital and so emotional at the same time. I don't know how, like it makes you feel emotions in a very analog way, at the same time being something so digital. So I really felt it was very insightful, very eye-opening. It's really, maybe it's foreseeing a reality that might happen if we don't make change. So I honestly think that was I literally had goosebumps all over my body when I saw that. It was truly amazing.
I think those are the most powerful pieces. Like the most powerful pieces are the ones that used innovation, technology, and design to solve real problems that we as a planet are facing today. Those were the real powerful submissions. And I think Tuvalu is just, the perfect example of that. Climate change is a huge issue. Rising sea levels are a huge issue. This was presented as it could literally wipe out an entire island nation if this doesn't stop. But the nation will continue to live on using the technology of the metaverse. It's just—
Which is chilling as well, because you end up seeing the island floating in the darkness of a digital void.
It's a brilliant application of using innovation, design, and technology to solve a real problem.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because the ad didn't necessarily play on emotions. It's very like the guy is talking, standing, he's not trying to make you cry or anything. It's very, very subtle. So it's, yeah. Well, Dida, which ones? I believe you mentioned Dogs Without Borders as one of your favorite ads, as well as Torrents of Truth. So can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit more about these?
Look, Dogs Without Borders is so interesting. It's the same thing. It's a brilliant application of kind of, innovation to really solve a problem. So there are, small villages, I believe it was in the Amazon, where women are not, they have to travel hundreds of miles, kilometers to get to the nearest medical center. So breast cancer detection rates are very, very low in those areas, just due to the fact that they're not able to get there. They don't have the equipment nearby to be able to detect breast cancer. So what this was about was they designed kind of a capsule where, and a swabbing method where these capsules and swabs could be delivered to the women in the villages, and they would just have to simply swab a breast, put it into the capsule, and dogs who are trained would be able to sniff if the capsule detected any type of, an issue or any type of cancer. And if it did, then that woman would be able to make the trip, to get further checked. And I thought, that's a great way of having a simple solution that's easy to transport, that can reach women in areas that are very remote and help solve, a real problem of cancer detection. So I really love that piece.
Well, in both cases, these are solutions that are super innovative, whether it's the metaverse or using dogs in this way. You also have some ads that were purely communications, not based on any technology simply communicating something. And I'm thinking about the McDonald's Sorry Mom ad, which I believe is something that was quite successful with the jury. In that one, can you explain, both of you, what was the drive to really enjoy this piece of work?
So I think this was the one that it was very helpful to have mothers in the room for us to understand. I'm not a mother myself, so when I saw the film, I was like, is this maybe a little too forced? That was my first impression, even though the film was beautifully shot. I mean, again, it was a very, very nice piece of work, but then I was a little bit on the fence. And it's not until a couple of us voiced that out, and that mothers told that, like, this is exactly what happens. It's the first time that we see, an ad portraying this type of relationship between mothers and their teenage sons. And then how beautifully the brand was integrated within that, like you clearly understood that McDonald's is open 24 hours a day. So both for a mother that is about to go to work and for a teenage son that is coming back from a night out. So it was very functional and very emotional at the same time. The brand played an essential role, and it brought to life an insight that, I think we need to see more of. So I needed help to see that insight, but I'm very glad that we had this discussion, because then it really unveiled this whole different truth that I wasn't aware of.
How important is it to have these conversations with other jury members so that you can get these insights that you might not have from your personal experience? Dida, was it the same for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It brings a different perspective to the table, because I can always look at something from my own point of view, right? But somebody with a different experience could come in with a different perspective that really makes me stop and think, I should consider that. I think it's really important to have kind of this open dialogue without, bringing any kind of, like holding back. I believe if you're really open about it and you present your viewpoints, I think everybody can take and learn from that.
So it's not really like people are jury members, are coming in and having their own perspective on things and trying to convince you. It's really an exchange, because okay, so yeah.
And nobody's trying to push an agenda. I think we just all are coming with honest discussion, and at the end of the day, your score is yours. You're making a decision on your own based on what you've, gathered, what you've seen from the entry, what you've heard from your jurors, what your own experiences, and then you come to that conclusion on your own. but it's another valuable input into the process.
And I was curious if one piece of work particularly touches you for whatever reason, and it's not working the same way with other jury members. Is it frustrating? How do you manage? I'm sure it happens, right? That I mean, something that you really loved didn't make the cut.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it happens, and I think it's part of our. I mean, it happens to us in our daily jobs, right? You might be in love with an idea, and then you present it to a client, and the client completely kills it, and you're like, oh my God, my life is over, and then it's not, because you have another idea after that, right? So I think we're kind of in that. I mean, creativity is very subjective, right? So I think we need to learn how to be able to be subjective and respectful at the same time of other people's opinions. And I think, and especially I felt that like there were no hard feelings, even if we had different opinion on things, no hard feelings, a lot of respect. And I think understanding that, not everybody's going to like everything. You might like something that other people don't. And at the end of the day, there's 15 women to make it's kind of a, how do you say it in English? I forgot the word. It's to find a balance, with its individual votes. So everybody's going to vote on what they want. The majority wins, and that's it. So wins, no, the majority moves forward, and then that's it. And I think we need to respect that, because it's our industry is extremely subjective. Extremely subjective.
Well, talking about ads that didn't work, that didn't got the votes. Dida, what do you think was common to the pieces that didn't work, that didn't engage with the jury, that didn't get their votes?
Look, the short list was released today, and then I just before this, and I haven't had a chance to go through it. But what I know from other judging experiences is that work that is good will not make the cut. Work that stands out, that pushes the envelope, that changes our industry, right? That takes things to another level, like the application of the metaverse that's the work that stands out, and that will always win. Because when you have a room full of creatives at this level in their career, you, like Natasha was saying, you not only respect and trust the process in them, we're all in it for the same thing. We want to see work that pushes the envelope. It's not enough in our industry to just be good. It has to be a game changer.
Yeah.
Natasha, yeah, you agree?
Absolutely. And I think this is why awards still have a place within our industry, because it is a collective point of view on what is the type of work that is doing that to push the industry forward, right? So again, it's different people, different backgrounds, different opinions. And if you collectively agree, or the majority agree, that this is work that is, category defining, pushing the industry forward, this is work that should be celebrated and should also serve as this is where the industry is. How can I push it, or how can I get there? So I think this is why it's very important for us to still, have these forums, because it is, how do we make the industry better, and how do we not keep doing the same thing?
Well, I was about to ask, how important are awards like this for the industry? Because there are a lot, and sometimes it can feel like it's just, the industry is just talking to itself and, self-congratulating. But you're saying that it's actually, it drives creativity, it drives people to do better. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I do believe that there is a bit of both. To Dida's point before, it is humans after all, and being praised for work that you've done is very intoxicating, let's just say. But I think that on a point of view of, if you think of it as a forum of people that have had a lot of experience within the industry, that have been working for a very long time, they're very successful in their careers. When putting those people together and awarding work that we believe is like what's going to keep us fresh, because honestly, we deal with culture, right? We are part of culture. We create culture. So if we keep doing the same things, and sometimes you open the TV and you think it's wall to wall the same ad, it's because people are still doing the same thing. So I think it's very encouraging for us to award work that is brave, award work that is changing the industry, be it a film all the way to creating a digital country on the metaverse. It is what is going to, from insight to execution. I think it's very important, or else I think none of us would still be in this industry if it only kept repeating itself, right?
Dida, do you,
Completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. No, that's everything Natasha said. Exactly.
so I wanted to ask, how important was it to be surprised? And was there work during this edition of the Gerety Awards that's actually surprised you, that you didn't see coming?
Well, not to like age myself. A lot of the pop culture references in social media were like surprised. Like I made a couple of notes that I was like, okay, I need to like look up what this is about because I'm like, but you know, that it surprised me how much social media now plays a role in all of this and how powerful it can be.
Can you explain a little bit more in which way?
I'm trying to think of a really good example. I don't know, Natasha, maybe you can help me, but there were a couple.
Did you see it as well, Natasha?
Yeah, there were a couple social media things and they're like TikTok campaigns, you know, that have just gone viral and literally have changed, you know, the game for a brand. I'll try and think of what example that was, but that was what was surprising to me. And maybe, you know, it's just because I'm not really in the social media world very much, but social media seemed to be a big factor in the entries.
And is it important for you to be surprised by the entries, by the work that is being presented?
Absolutely. I love that. I think that's great. Anything, you know, I'd love to be surprised by something I didn't know, or be surprised by a new application of something. I think that's great.
Absolutely. I think just one point here. That's again, one of the reasons why I love the Tuvalu work. It is a subject that people have been speaking about for a very, very long time. You know, global warming, it's been at least for 5 years, the subject of so many campaigns. This one reinvented it completely, you know, and I think this is why we all felt so strongly about it. It was very touching, very emotional, great use of digital, but also it's like, oh my God, you know, it's a completely new solution for a problem that we have been talking about for so long.
And it's coming from the least expected of sources, right? It's small islands in the Pacific. No, because I was about to ask, we have the usual suspects, you know, you have the McDonald's and Burger Kings and Persil and all these brands that we know. Underdogs, are they important, and did they surprise you, you know, in this edition? Dida? Natasha? Oh, you're stumped. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think if there was any underdog brand that I recall that.
Tuvalu for one.
Aside from that one.
Did you mention the Torrent campaign? I think that was also kind of like out of the blue, you know. You were mentioning it before. I don't know if you want to talk.
Yeah, so that one was about using torrent downloads as a way to kind of circumvent the media restrictions that are placed on Russians in terms of obtaining information about what's happening in Ukraine. So that is an interesting platform because we've seen many platforms being used, right? We've seen live exhibitions, we've seen apps, mobile applications, or you know, things, or social media platforms, but using torrents, I thought was super interesting. And that was so powerful. I really like that one, Torrents of Truth.
Yeah,
excellent.
I agree.
Please. Agree. Okay, so let us close with one last question, which is more personal, I guess. If you were to mention the key learnings that you had from this experience, whether it's from the judging experience at the Gerety Awards or the work that you saw, what did you walk away with? Which learnings? Natasha, you want to start?
I think keep your mind open, or, you know, be open to have your mind changed. I think is something that, again, I think the forum was really, really interesting for that point. And, you know, and I think be okay with having your mind changed. Sometimes there's information you don't know, and once you know it, you're able to, you know, to do that. And I think to your point, like it's very refreshing that we can still be surprised. It is very, I think it's something that I'm looking forward to keep seeing, and like looking forward, or else again, I think the industry will become boring. But I think if I'm going to summarize it into one, is like allow your mind to stay open for change.
Dida, what about you?
That's a really good point. I mean, I was thinking this whole time, how can I bring back some of this inspiration to my teams? So that learning for me is like, how can I distill everything that I've just seen and all these very inspiring pieces, and what can we take back here locally and apply to the work that we're doing? And I think, that brings about that kind of healthy, refreshing of the industry that Natasha said, and how can we, keep things moving forward? So for me, I always try to, of course, keep an open mind and take back any learnings that I think could be applicable to us and the type of work that we're trying to do here.
Well, thank you both. Any last word that you want to have before we say goodbye?
Thank you
All
very
good.
much.
All right. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for these insights, and looking forward